Mr. Chair. All right. Commissioner Stinson.
Here.
Commissioner Montoya.
Here.
Commissioner Scott. And Commissioner Mayers. She told us she'd be out of town. Okay. And then Commissioner Bacon.
Here.
Chairman Metcalf.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll
second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as printed and distributed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Old business. Cool PZ. 240212, re-subdivision submitted by Dale Mattingly of Black Mountain Surveying on behalf of Heartland Coolidge Community Association in changing the boundaries of Heartland Unit 3, Parcel X, for the purpose of creating a well site tract as located approximately 550 feet south of the southeast corner of West Buckeye Inn Road and North Kenworthy Road. APN number 209-38-668C. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, if you recall, we asked you to table this item last time because we thought Arizona Water and the HOA and the other principals would have an agreement in place and everything to go forward with this. This is the old minion well that was painted yellow with red. It looked really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so over in Heartland, but they haven't been able to tell us when they'll get everything worked out because they also were redoing the legal description and some other things. So we'd ask you to just table it in general, and then we'll re-advertise it when it comes back. We don't have a date specific when they'll be ready to go, but they are going to move forward. But they're still working on some things, and so all we do is ask you to table this straight out.
Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to table Cool PZ 240212.
Second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's tabled.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's going to speak? Gilbert.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is, of course, the general plan for 2035, discussion and public hearing. So we're at the end of our 60-day notice procedure as per the schedule that we have. And so Phil will make the presentation on this, and then we'll take in general comments from the public, and then ask you to take a vote to send it forward to the City Council.
All right. Just checking out the graphics and stuff. There's our cover page, our acknowledgements page. Once again, as Gilbert just talked about, this is our attention 60-day notice that we've been using for all the mailers, notices, things of that nature. The general plan adoption schedule here started March 6, 2024 for the 60-day review, completed on Monday, May 6, 2024. We are here today for the March 8th Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, as Gilbert said, for a recommendation to go before the City Council on June 10th, 2024 for their public hearing and eventual adoption on June 24th. So at the last meeting and also to the City Council, we had distributed what we'd basically call the General Plan 2035 update bullet points. So basically for the meat and potatoes of this portion of things this evening, I thought I would go through this, albeit fairly efficiently here, and answer any questions with regard to this. Just reading into the record here, the Coolidge General Plan of 2025, as adopted in 2014, outlined the prevailing conditions and anticipated growth patterns for the ensuing decade that spanned 2015 to 2025. From the built environment of Coolidge in 2014, the then General Plan of 2025 very accurately envisioned the growth that occurred during this next 10-year period. Now in 2024, there is the opportunity to continue building upon the success of the prior general plan and to continue its strategic guidance into the next decade. Therefore, the proposed general plan of 2035 will retain much of the structure from the 2025 general plan itself. Certain sections have been updated to reflect current conditions, along with other minor updates and enhancements to elevate the 2035 general plan's overall effectiveness. The following are the primary changes proposed for the general plan of 2035. Overall approach strategy was basically, once again, some elements remain the same per careful discussion between staff and departments. The overall design was colors to reflect a sunrise sunset aspect in perspective to the city's circular sunrise sunset logo. And tables and maps have been designed to maximize their viewing space. So just going through a quick inventory here under Chapter 1, Introduction. The aspects there that were updated were pictures, the summary of the approach and dates. On page 10 of Chapter 1, we updated the planning area boundary map. In Chapter 2, under the land use section, under page 15, the population data and dates were updated. Page 16 and 17 saw the land use policy and downtown land use. Page 39, we provided some Nicola and P&G pictures because those were not envisioned 10 years ago, but iPads was very, very new on the horizon and mentioned in the plan at that time. So now with those two tenants there, hopefully we'll be adding more the next go around down the line. Page 42 under Chapter 2, the major general plan amendments are now allowed to be proposed any time of the year, as was changed by the legislature about a year and a half ago. So this update reflects that instead of being one time of year. Now a proposal can come in any time of the year, but it will, however, follow a similar timeline of about 4 to 5 months to be completed. So that portion was updated. Under Chapter 3, Circulation, page 46, we updated the regionally significant routes map. Continuing under circulation at the top of the second page here, on page 50, the transportation plan map was updated. Page 53 saw the roadways cross-section, which was noted then to be further graphics to come. That has been updated. That was actually in your packet. Public Works and Planning worked on those. So they're a little bit crisper, easier to read now, a little more clear. Our local street section is specifically in there as well as being called out in our subdivision section, so there won't be any questions there from development. On pages 58 and 59, we added a new airport section summary, photos and maps and graphics to basically call out the success of our airport, especially from how it was called out as a potential 10 years ago to where it is now, a great celebrated success. Chapter 4, under the open space, pages 62 through 65, we updated dates, descriptions, and data relative to the open space. Page 66 was the existing and approved open space map, once again, greatly enhanced, sized to be a little bit more friendly. Pages 70 to 71, the new regional park section, which of course will be coming before council with a comprehensive presentation by Ricky here in the next couple of weeks, I understand. So that'll be great to see that a little more out in the public there, but you guys kind of saw in that section kind of a preview. So, but we were given permission to use it in the general plan since this is, as my dad would say, a once in every while special occasion. Under Chapter 6, under the environment, page 83, we updated the Pinal County soils types map. Page 87 saw a similar exercise for the environmental hazards map. Chapter 7, the water resources, was the most comprehensive section that we updated. It involved pages 89 through 104. And existing and prior section was written very specifically in close collaboration with Arizona Water Company, as was last time 10 years ago. So our great thanks to them and their assistance. And the summary here is that updates in law and policy descriptions, along with water connections, population growth demands, provider solutions and supply, along with existing and planned infrastructure production, conservation efforts, and water storage were all updated. Chapter 8, the cost of development, on page 107, saw a general fund revenue fiscal year 2024 update table from our financing department. And Chapter 9, implementation on page 118, basically our housing element was updated for its analogy to things in the present time. So those were the changes. We received various comments, inquiries from agencies, nearby jurisdictions, some state level agencies, some of which are in your packet for those that we had at that particular time. And at this juncture, I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair, and we are available to answer any questions that you may have of staff.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Here's the, it's in your packet, but so the public can see here too. Here's the new cross sections. They're a little bit bigger and easier to read than the last go around and stuff. So.
Go ahead, Tom.
Mr. Chair. Phil, I just have a question as I look through these street sizes, like the minority aerial typical section. I noticed that the bike lane was right next to the traffic lane, but to the right of the bike lane is a 3-foot space, I guess. Wouldn't it make more sense to put that 3-foot space next to the traffic lane and put the bike lane over there? Kind of give you a little buffer?
Wait till you see them in Phoenix and Mesa and Gilbert and everywhere else. They're setting just like that.
Oh, all right.
The bike lane is out 3 feet from the curb.
So that's figure 3.6 on this map.
Well, the nice thing about having Ben, Public Works involvement was with this, there were some discussions about different projects and things going on with towns. So this kind of came about in a roundabout way that he wanted to create those updates so that he could share some cut sheets with those projects so that they would have a graphic from which to work with. So since he was already doing that, he actually drew all the rest of these. So as far as their generation, like Al says, the similarity and stuff, these are all based upon MAG standards outside of things that might be unique to our code. Like, for instance, our Arizona Parkway typical 6-lane section. That's obviously unique to us, but otherwise everything here is per MAG code, the way that Ben had drawn it.
Wouldn't you think it'd be a little safer, though?
I wished I'd asked Ben here to be here, but like he said, they are very similar. I like that.
They're using them everywhere.
Yeah.
I've seen them, and I wonder why did they do that? Except when people are over next to the curb, they have nowhere to go.
In certain cases, if I had to, if Ben had been here, sometimes it provides enough space depending on in the situations. If it's going to be like a roll curb, you're not going to see that very often on an arterial. Usually it's always going to be a vertical curb. But depending on like drainage situations relative to the type of curb that's there and he may have actually been thinking about enough area for as far as an operation for making improvements or changes or things along those lines. So unless I knew more than that and knowing that he had drawn them from MAG standards, I'd have to ask him specifically, but there'll still be an opportunity for that too.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and if I could add, commissioners, bikes are treated as just like cars. You have to stop and do all the things. So maybe that's why they put them in that area versus putting them up on somewhere else where you have pedestrians and all that. So maybe it's just how traffic laws treat the bikes and cars. But I understand your comment. Hear it loud and clear. We're mentioning it to Ben and see if there's something that he wants to change or look at. We can still do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Phil? Nope. Gilbert, anything else?
Now, Mr. Chair, this time, if you'd like, if there are no questions, you can open up to the general public for input.
Okay. At this time, I'll open it to the general public. Hold your discussions to 3 minutes. And anyone that would like to speak, give your name, address, and come up to the mic.
Mr. Chair,
You can
Andy
right
Sutton,
there.
Council Member, City of Eloy.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the Planning and Zoning
Did
Commission,
I? Okay.
thank you for transmitting the draft Coolidge General Plan 2035 to our staff to review and comment. We would like to commend you, staff, and the residents of the city of Coolidge on your effort to consciously plan your city for a progressive future. As a quality neighbor to the city of Eloy, we appreciate the contentious effort that
In your
Coolidge has
packet, these
taken
are
in
just larger.
developing the draft Coolidge General Plan 2035. The plan appears to be thoughtful and concise. Upon review of the draft Coolidge General Plan 2035, there are 3 areas of specific concern that have impacts to the city of Eloy's future planning and development of the city. More specifically, the Coolidge planning area boundary indicated in the proposed Coolidge General Plan of 2035 encroaches on the city of Eloy's planning area. Include areas south and west are generally southwest corner of 11 Mile Corner Road and Arizona Route 287. The areas are generally north and west of Hannah Road and Arizona Route 87. The areas that are generally between the east side of Arizona 87 and the railroad tracks between Hauser Road and Hannah Road, and the areas generally north and west of the northwest corner of Shed Road and track road alignments. The indicated areas have been in the city of Eloy's planning area for over 23 years, as shown in our current and previous general plans. Furthermore, the city of Eloy's staff has had discussions in the past with the city of Coolidge representatives and has opposed encroachments into the city of Eloy's planning area. Previous city administrations have acknowledged our planning area and have cordially agreed to keep Coolidge to remain north of Santa Rosa Canal, east of Route 87, and north of Route 287. Although in recent years, the city of Coolidge has been annexing areas within the city of Eloy's planning area. To provide continuity between Eloy and Coolidge's planning efforts, it is formally and respectfully requested that these areas be removed from the proposed Coolidge planning area boundary in the Coolidge General Plan 2035. On behalf of the city of Eloy, we oppose proposed Coolidge planning area boundary indicated in the draft Coolidge General Plan 2035 encroachment to the city of Eloy's planning area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gilbert, you want to respond?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, yeah, we'd like to certainly thank Eloy for coming up and commenting on our plan. Some of these areas that we talked about, and Eloy does the same thing. The actual property owners are the ones that drive the annexations. We don't go usually take anybody that doesn't want to be in the city. So they generally ask us, and when they do, and they want to be in our city, and it makes sense for the city, we generally will bring them in. It's like we did with iPads and all that. Some of the areas we talked about have been in the city for a long time, and they've been annexed. And the one with the canal in the south, it's because of state land and how you can't just take the canal, you got to take the pieces that go with it. So that's why we did that. We've explained that before. So while we appreciate the comments, it's gone through the proper process, the time when you protest annexations, and it says in here that Eloy made itself clear that they were, not in agreement, which we recognize and we respect. But because the landowners wanted to be in the city, we moved forward with that annexations. So I just want to say that, but we do recognize and respect Eloy's position.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, see if there may be some other comments. I don't know if everybody in
Are there any other comments?
the audience.
Don't see anybody moving around. Okay, we'll close the public comments. Can I have a motion to approve sending the City of Coolidge 2035 general plan forward to the city council?
I'll make a motion that we approve to move the Coolidge General Plan of 2035 to the city council.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Next. Cool PZ 240314, a conditional use permit application request by Angie Cowden of Priority Permits on behalf of Jorge and Alexandria Valenzuela for a manufactured home in the multifamily R3 zoning district.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think the 24-13, the plan area development was before, unless you're changing the,
This one, oh, I was looking at.
Oh, I see.
yeah, sorry,
I missed it. I was
no problem. I just.
I was looking, yeah, I was wanting to go home.
Yep.
Have pizza.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Hey, that's how you get a meeting over in a hurry.
You wanted to get him out of here.
Cool PZ 240313, a planned area development, major amendment application request by iPlan Consulting on behalf of Coolidge 60 LLC, Coolidge, Arizona Apartment LLC to amend a portion of the existing 243 unit, 60 acre plus or minus Mesquite Manor pad of single family lots with a 328 unit of multifamily apartments on 20 acres plus or minus 18.2 net acres as located approximately 1/2 of a mile south of the southeast intersection corner of Coolidge Avenue and Skousen Road, Coolidge, Arizona. APN numbers 209-25-0040 and 209-26-0280. Gilbert.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we have this request we're pretty excited about. It takes an existing PAD that nothing's been developed on for quite a while and is really looking to amend it to bring something in the area of housing that we need additional of. And so we have the applicants here, and Phil will go through the details, and then we'll answer any questions you may have, and then the here in case they need to answer any questions or if they have something to say too. So Phil, go ahead, please.
All right, just
Now,
a,
before you
yeah, go
start,
ahead.
Phil, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
There was 243 single-family units planned on this area, right?
Yes,
Now it's going to be 328 units of multifamily apartments.
in this area. The remainder of this will be single family, as we'll go through in the presentation.
Okay? I just wanted to be sure what we were doing now.
Absolutely. As a quick little reminder, this is the land use portion of the PAD major amendment. This project will require, as it's called out in the staff report, to go right for a major site plan. That's when we'll get into the other details that will be inventoried in that report. So here you can see the boundaries for the city. Other areas not highlighted in blue are within the county there. You can see the majority of the area is the city. Oop, going backwards. General plan exhibit here calls out the subject location as urban neighborhood. The vast majority of the area is of a similar land use designation. We have a little bit of ag over here, We had some industrial manufacturing over here for that particular location and its uses.
And Phil, if you might point out, that's actually our farm, the city's property where we actually have the farmland. And we're doing a large park over on the other side. So the only industrial area is the one where we have the industrial park right there. We may extend that in the future a little bit down, but the whole area right now isn't slated for industrial, even though in the future we could, we'd buffer it and everything, but it's an ag farm right now. We continue to probably use it in that degree. Like I said, we may add a little more on the lots for the industrial, but not, we'll bring that forward too if we do that. Okay, just want to clarify that so you know where that's at.
Well, like Gilbert mentions, it kind of shows in the zoning here, because only this area, zoning-wise, is dedicated as I-2. The remainder of it is presently agriculture, as he was calling out. And our subject location here and some of the surrounding areas here, and it's hard to kind of see color, but that's the PAD designation there, so that's the zoning. So a couple pictures, just to inventory. In the upper left here, we got site looking generally southeast from North Skousen Road and Gibson Avenue. Basically, as we go to this one, we're kind of sliding down the road a little bit, so we're like moving from here to about here, looking due east from the right-of-way of North Skousen Road. And then as we slide down to basically the bottom portion of the property here, we're looking northeast from the alignment of North Skousen Road and Arizona Avenue. So you can see the existing status of the on-site property. So as Al had inquired, the area that is in proposal for this evening, even though it involves the entire PAD as being amended, is this smaller subsection here. This is some graphics from the original PAD when it was approved in 2006. And it's just two different maps showing this one here. They had a first and a second phase, or parcel 1 and 2. And this is just a little bit nicer of sort of a landscaping kind of called out exhibit. So figured I'd include that too. So the main graphic that we're going to concentrate on this evening, and remember, all the stuff that's contained within this area will be covered by the major site plan process. But in order to get an idea of what it is that we're talking about here, so once again, we can see the overall project here, its relationship to the apartments as would be proposed for the number of units, and the remaining area that will be single family unto itself. So while this is bringing in the 328 units, the acreage minus this location would be the remaining single family detached residential. And even though I didn't put it up on the overhead here, but there is a chart here on page 2 that basically calls out everything that you need to know. But the easiest thing is just look under the phase 1, parcel 1, that basically says there's 108 48 by 115s that are basically going to this. So that means that there'll be a remaining 135 units down here, and as a yet to be determined number back here. So a couple dozen back here. So there'll be like 150 or 160 that'll still be there. So a couple things to call out. The dotted area here in black is the zoom in of this, and the orientation that we have here provides lots of open space and a very high concentration of amenities here. This is as nice, maybe even nicer than the Casablanca apartments if you're familiar with some of the amenities that are up there. A couple things that we asked the applicant to consider, and they did, was with regard to the pipeline easement for El Paso Kinder Morgan here. There's some additional standards outside of the easement from a design standpoint that provide guidance of a little bit further of a setback as far as sort of a safety of design type of situation. And we were very pleased that the applicant did actually work with that. So they've moved these buildings up a little bit further than just being right where they could have potentially be with this easement on this half that does run through this portion of the property. And then further to that, the internal project has these 3-story units here, but sometimes with adjacent land uses, even though there's not really a lot of anything around this right now, but even a public right-of-way is called into consideration for that criteria. So as a result of that, and some of the long discussions we've had with the applicant for well over a year now, all the units that are along the street side here will be 2 stories. So between these two major design factors, the layout with good circulation, adequate parking, a very high level of amenities here, we know we're going to get a very good product when we start going through the major site plan process. But once again, this is this stage, but they did want to share a little bit about what we're talking here. So here's conceptual, what the 2-story units would look like, more internal to the project, 3-story. Potential design for the clubhouse. This is a cross-section basically showing their interior driveway section with the parking on either side, and this could be almost any location within the entire complex that they will be proposing. With the landscaping, lots of open space, common area between the parking and the buildings themselves. And then, of course, particularly remembering that we still will have some remaining single-family housing, showing a conceptual entry monument as might be seen there. So this is the graphic that I'll keep here. Try to keep this very straightforward. Anything else was basically in the report here. Once again, this is the conversion of this portion from single family into the multifamily here for this portion. The remainder of the project will remain single family detached. And it's just the land use component of this aspect with the major PAD amendment for this evening. So at that juncture, staff is available to answer any questions that the P&Z may have, and the applicant and several other representatives are here to answer questions as you might have.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, I have a few
Yes.
questions.
Okay?
First question has to do with the open space. And those open space is supposed to be like 15% of the project, so the project's 20 acres. 15% would be 3 acres. But when you read through the document here, it says there's 20 acres plus or minus gross acres, but the net acres for the project will be 18.2. So that would leave, the way I'm understanding this, 1.8 acres for the open space. Is that correct?
Well, in some ways, we're also talking about the overall project, but sometimes when these numbers are called out like that, sometimes they're net, sometimes they're gross. In other words, the basic acreage difference is going to be the portion that is the half street that's dedicated relative to North Skousen, and then some other internal elements depending upon how the final design comes. So they give us an initial net number, but at the same time too, really at this stage as the PAD, it's also a gross number relative to the factor.
So some of it's gonna be over in the other section.
Okay.
Not
Well, there's an overall average to the whole project because it is an entire PAD unto itself. So technically, they could have a lot more, which they very well may. I mean, the common open area of this is going to very much exceed the minimum requirements relative to its R4 similar designation. So there's going to be highly amenitized, a lot of the common area, and then there'll still be a number overall to the entire project if and when the other portions get proposed for their single-family detached.
So the open area then is going to be the 1.8 acres?
The difference between that is the gross and the net number. In other words, when you start out with the parcel by itself, but then you actually drill down on this particular thing and you dedicate other spaces to it, or other things that are going to occupy that space, that's what takes away from those other numbers to give you a lower net number. That's why it's the net versus the.
Okay, well, we know there's 60 acres total, correct?
Yep.
20 off's 40, so the 40 would be the single family side of it, correct?
Well, right. The land use there will be different because it's a single family. So in other words, they'll have, like if we went back and looked at the original layout, you can see where they have provided areas. Now, of course, this was originally part of what would have been the retention recreation area to the overall project, but you can see other areas. In fact, actually, the easement for the pipeline actually contributes and adds to the open space calculation, even though improvements can't be made there and probably minimal to no landscaping and stuff, but that is allowed to be as counted as part of the open space to an overall project like that.
Okay, just one more question here. I guess I'm hung up on the 1.8 acres, and in my mind, the 1.8 acres from, as I read through the project, is that gonna be the designation where the clubhouse is and the swimming pool and those type of things?
1.8 acres is usually the portion that's being removed because this would become part of the track that is actually the right-of-way.
Okay.
So that's where that difference of the number is coming from. Because there's 55-foot street, half section minus this to equal that amount of acres.
Okay,
So that's how you're going to end up with a net number in here. But once again, everything is more than just the open space. The common area is all these spaces in between here, or when you look at the cross section from like here to here, things up next to the building, all that is allowed to be counted as the common area space for that requirement of that number and stuff, and it's going to greatly exceed the minimum number that's called out in the documentation there.
yeah, in my mind, I was just looking at the 1.8 acres, and to put that in perspective, if you go down Buckeye Inn, you go to Walker Park, that park's exactly 1.8 acres, and I was just curious how you're gonna fit all the, the clubhouse, the swimming pool, the dog park, and all that stuff in.
Yeah, well, they've got really detailed plans that will be coming forward in the major site plan process. So very specific dimensioning relative to the areas, the access, the sidewalks, the landscaping, the tracks, things of that nature. So we'll be able to see that in great detail in the next process.
The McClellan Wash runs to the east of there. Does it affect this subdivision at all?
There is a portion of it that is in some of the documentation that's provided. That is a portion of that, but that is actually further down this way. So this portion of the project will actually be technically uninfluenced by it.
The McClellan Wash hardly ever runs, but down where our business is, there's a dip in the road.
Oh, down here, yeah.
No, on the other side.
Oh, and the other,
Sorry.
on the up end, yeah.
But there's a dip in the road, and I've gone through it before, and it'd be like 3 or 4 feet deep. So that water kind of channels its way down over to the east side of this property, and then it just goes on, I guess, where it goes. Now,
I'm sure
Highway 287.
I'm sure the engineering and the on-site retention will take into account that they don't want to see their buildings turn into arcs.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up there. I have lived here for a long time. So how are we gonna figure out the traffic? So if we got 328 vehicles, and they're gonna improve the property or the road on Skousen in front of their property, which is great, that'll be really good. But nevertheless, it tapers down back to the old 2-lane country road. Does the city have things in the future? Because if you go south of this project, a half of a mile, you got Hark Hollow that's going to have 1,100 plus or minus home sites there, 1,100 plus or minus cars. But I would assume that a lot of the folks that are going to be living here, we hope that a lot of them work in town, in different positions and stuff, but a lot of them will be heading down to the 287 to go up to the valley.
Or going down to Nicola or Procter and Gamble,
We're coming into town, right?
coming into town.
I was just curious if there's a plan.
Chairman
Yeah,
Metcalf
handle
and Commissioner Scott. Yeah, there is well, part of it's the general plan showing where those different arterials and all those different roadways are. They also have to take into account traffic impact, and they'll do a traffic study, right, on this. And the applicant's here, and they can kind of answer that question, but they'll be taken into account because those roadways are designed to be very, they won't be 4 lanes originally, but then they'll, as you notice, next to Heartland, one side's 2 and the other one's 1. So when it develops crossroad, you'll add another 2 lanes, and this carries all the way down to the area where Hawk Hollow is and all that. So
They're widening it in front of their property, which makes sense. But
Right,
after
right.
that, it just goes back down.
Right.
and eventually when the other portions get developed, we'll widen those as property. We can't require them to widen all of it except what's on their property. So, but Ben is, our traffic, public works director has looked at all this, and if you notice, so many units are in Heartland, a lot of them come out on that center road, and then we're gonna build some more on that side. So Skousen is pretty heavily traveled, so
Right.
we know we'll need to make some improvements as we go forward. A lot of people come in through Skousen, but then they turn on Vaca and turn left just to avoid the entrance by Walmart. And so that area is pretty well traveled. This is south of that, so it won't be as much, but it's really more on Martin Road where a lot of traffic goes to the college. But that whole area's got, pretty good amount of traffic for being rural. Yeah, I'm like you. I've been here the whole time and see the traffic increase. So, we're looking at that, and I'm sure the applicant can answer how their standpoint of traffic study, they'll provide that for us. I don't know if you want to, Mr. Chair, if you want them to.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you give us a little overview there, please?
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Is this on? Good evening, Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Greg Davis with iPlan Consulting and the land planner for this project, so appreciate the opportunity to be here. So just to answer that specific question, we do have a traffic study that's been prepared that looks at the ambient traffic. It also projects the traffic out to include our project, Hawk Hollow, everything else that's going to be developed. And then it makes recommendations to the city as far as improvements. So we are going to be responsible for developing our half of Skousen Road. And then at that point, it becomes up to the city on if they want to use some of those funds to develop other parts of the road so it doesn't scallop back and forth. That's an option that the city has. A lot of times, the city will also go ahead and use CIP funds to improve roads that need it, and then they charge the developers their half when they do develop. So parcels north of us that aren't developed would be responsible for those fees if and when that happens. But you guys pointed it out, this project isn't being built to service, Phoenix as, housing option. This is really being built to service the need that's in the city of Coolidge today. So we don't anticipate that regional traffic to be an issue.
The property to the west of you, you know what that is?
That's Cotton Gin, yes.
Okay, you know
Yeah.
what goes in there?
Not
I
a-
mean, cotton's the answer, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just being a little smart, but it's, large trucks and not little cars. So those, semis that come in and out of there, require space and they're slow and wide turns and things of the such.
Yeah, and that's why I think the road improvements to Skousen will really help, because I'm sure that impacts everybody using those roads today. And if we can make Skousen at least 2 lanes, each direction, then obviously it's going to help, make sure those slow-moving vehicles aren't hindering traffic.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I can answer your other questions too if you would like me to respond now.
Go ahead.
Okay, just real quick, regarding the open space, the existing PAD requires 14% open space for every project. So our project will have a minimum of 14%. We're actually, much higher than that right now. We have over 3 acres of open current design. So the 1.8 acres is the difference between the gross and the net, but we'll have over 3 acres of open. And then the second question about the wash, we do have an engineer that's on board. That was one of the first things we looked at and made sure that we could design this project safely. So
I thought maybe you were gonna develop the wash like the Tempe Town Lake or something like that.
put a dam on each side of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah, save the water,
water amenities, Well, I'll let the client know and see if they want to go for it. But we're glad to answer any other questions you have. The developer of this property is ready to move forward. They specialize in affordable housing projects, and she'd be glad to kind of walk you through that if you're interested in hearing that. Otherwise, we're here to just answer any questions that you have.
So you said something about affordable housing? That's not like Section 8, is it?
No, correct. This is not Section 8 housing. It uses different types of financing to create more attainable housing. And I don't want to speak for Jen. Maybe it's a good time to have you come up and talk about that. So I think it'd be good to get an education on
Yes.
that aspect of it.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
I
Yeah, I was
just
going to say.
Go ahead, Gilbert, go ahead.
We use the term of attainable housing because a lot of people that, entry-level employment, especially when they start, it usually takes 2 incomes to pay, some of the single-family homes are in the 300,000 to 400,000 range now. Even the ones in the older part of town are harder. So this type of just apartments are needed. Just give opportunity for people to come in to this area, but it's not a Section 8 or low-income housing tax credit project. This is just regular market rate, and but it is attainable for people to come, as far as I know. So maybe they comment.
Yeah, let me just clarify on that. So this is considered low-income housing tax. We do finance tax credits, but it's not Section 8 housing. Section 8 housing is subsidized by the government, meaning the government will have vouchers that pay for the residents' rents. That's not this housing. This housing is, the residents do have to qualify to live there. We have resident qualifications for them to live there. Pass background checks. They have to make a certain amount of income. I think it's like 2.5 times the rent is what we want them to make, and they go through an entire qualification and resident selection plan that we have in place. This is actually considered Section 42 of the IRS code. So back when, just a little education, back when the savings and loan crisis happened in the late 80s, and the IRS stepped in and closed the loophole for all just, regular professionals to be building multifamily housing. It created this savings and loan crisis. So at that time, the IRS, that's when they instituted the ordinary income, the investment income, and the passive income. And multifamily investment is, that type of income is considered passive income for all those who are not real estate professionals. So they created Section 42 of the IRS code that allowed investors who are doctors, lawyers, and also banks and all of those type of investors to invest in multifamily housing to receive tax credits that will then offset their ordinary income. So that's what the program is. I feel like we've built probably 10 of these properties in the west part of the United States. Our company, CGM Development, is headquartered in Draper, Utah, and we've developed many of these, and they are fantastic properties and bring a lot of value to the communities that we build them in. As was mentioned, our amenities, you wouldn't drive by this property and not think it's a market rate, nice property. We really put a lot of pride of ownership into our assets, but it does allow some affordable housing. So our project will have 80% of your area median income all the way to 50%. So we'll have a chunk of 80% units. Those are people who make 80% of your area median income. That's why we are stating that this community will service the local community, the people who are, working at your hospitals, your schools, your Walmart. This will be housing that they'll be able to come to and have really good quality living and be able to afford it. And our program is set up, we do like to see them then advance and go and buy single-family homes. It just gives them.
You're gonna build some right
Right
there.
next door.
Move right down the street.
Yes, so that is really, we have a lot of experience with this product type, and it has been successful and provided people opportunity to take those next steps in home ownership, so.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I got a
Yes.
question here. So I'm just taking a look at the pad development area, and we kind of saw just like the entryway, kind of what it was gonna look like. I'm just curious because I see the setbacks in here, minimum of 15 feet from any single family detached housing. Based upon this new pad amendment area, is there gonna be like a sort of retaining wall or anything like that on the back of this property here to separate it, or is it going to flow?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Montoya, the intent is that there'd be a fence of some sort between the single family and the multifamily is what I'm assuming you're talking about. Yeah, so I don't know if we've made the decision if it's going to be masonry or if it's going to be split rail or something to that effect, but there will be a demarc. Probably be masonry because the single family homes will probably back up to the project and they'll want a masonry wall. So that might be something we just have to work out at the next level.
Okay, yeah, that was just my question because I just didn't see.
We'll see that on the next one. Next
Correct.
time it comes in, that, the fence line will be there.
Yep, and we'll have definitive information for you on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay? Anybody else? Any questions? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, this is a public hearing as well.
Oh,
So we need to open it up to the public.
I thought we did. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna open the public hearing for this section. Anybody that wants to speak, please come to the mic. No speakers? I close the public hearing. Now, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve Cool PZ 2403-13.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Cool PZ 2403-13 is passed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you next time. That's when you're really gonna get quizzed. Watch them setbacks. Okay, back to where we started a while ago. Cool PZ 2403-14. A conditional use permit application request by Angie Cowden. Priority permits on behalf of Jorge and Alejandra Valencia for a manufactured home in the multifamily R3 zoning district located at 369 West Taylor Avenue, Coolidge, Arizona. APN 205-18-0320. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, you've seen these before. We require a conditional use permit to put in manufactured home in the manufactured home overlay area of the city.
Yep.
And we've done quite a few in this area, and they've turned out very nice. The only thing I'll point out on the map, the conditional use permit map, one detail shows an easement that's 15 feet, and then an 8 foot to the home. So that's a total of 24. Yeah, so that he just accidentally left off the easement on the, created that part of it, but it's actually not, it's not 8 foot in the rear, it's more than that, it's 20 plus. So just wanted to point that out. It meets all the setbacks and everything. I think Phil was testing me to see if I look at.
Yeah, no, I get too excited about the crop command because that's how I generate all these great little presentations, so. Anyways, go through our usual stuff here. Here's the subject location right on Taylor Avenue. Here is our designated land use in the yellow, as the majority of the area is urban neighborhood, a little bit of nearby downtown core. And the zoning exhibit calls out R3 in this area. Just as a reference, this is R6 down here. So a couple of site photos, pretty much from the same location here. We're just on West Taylor Avenue here, looking southeast, slid a little bit further down the street, just kind of get a straight on angle from it. And just to get a nice look to the rear of the lot here, just kind of a zoom in, basically the same location here, looking at the rear yard. So as Gilbert called out here, when we have a submission of this type, we ask them to lay out the home, show us how they would orient it upon the lot, providing dimensioning information, setbacks, hopefully calling out detail, obviously, such as the parking here, some sort of dustless surface, whether it be asphalt or concrete. Sometimes they show the landscaping here or not, but we will, actually, I guess that is what's right there. But we do review that in other processes too. So, and this is just a nice way to see how it would look oriented to the other nearby single-family residence houses right there. And the usual stuff that we ask for, floor plan, showing elevations, what the approximate architecture will look like. And that is generally what we have. Now, a notice was sent in communication to the owners. I'm not sure why they're not here this evening. Something else might have happened. There is a neighbor actually in the audience. I said, if you want to get up and say something nice about it, go ahead. But since the applicant's not here, even though they submitted all the paperwork and stuff, so on their behalf, I ask that you guys consider approving this request for CUP this evening for them. In fact, actually, the home that they're going to purchase from Clayton, I got a call from the sales agent tonight at like 4:45 saying, hey, did it get approved today? And I said, night, and he said, oh, well, I'll call back tomorrow. So they're obviously pretty eager, so I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair, and we have, answer any of your questions.
I got a question. I don't see pads and awnings.
As in that they would want some, or that,
Got to have some.
They have the parking areas in front, right?
oh, the,
Parking
Oh, no,
areas
no, no,
in
no,
front,
they don't
but
have
you
to have-
still have
oh.
to have pads and awnings on the sides. Take my word for it.
The overlay requires parking and then 3 shrubs and some landscaping in front, but doesn't require them to add awnings if they don't. They can add them later if they want to, pull permits. But yeah, they're not required by code to actually add those. They don't want them at this point. We don't have, that's not a requirement.
You
right?
better
Zoning-
check. I think
Yeah.
you do.
We done quite a few of these. Yeah, because I think they've got the parking up front. And then we're gonna require landscaping. It's gotta be ground set. It's gonna
Yep.
be,
Less than
all
3
that.
years old,
That's,
which is part
those
of
are
the
the big
stipulation.
deals that, our code doesn't require them to put in, awnings on either side. They can if they want and meet the setbacks. They
Yeah.
still have to meet the setbacks, 10 foot on one side, 5 foot on the other in the zoning district. But yeah, they can come in later and add them if they want, get a permit.
I can't.
Yeah, we'll double check, but yeah, they'd have to
You
get a
better
permit
check
for it. Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure.
well, on the way down here, there's one that we did last year, like 8 or 9 years ago. I forget the exact address, but it's right on the corner. It's still got a for sale sign, but it's kind of like a funky light blue, almost like a purple. It looks really nice, and it's just got the driveway all the way down the side of it, and it's oriented and looks really nice. It doesn't have that requirement. It's not built into it, so.
Yeah, but I think, pretty sure our code says you gotta have it.
Mr. Chair, we're looking at our code. We've done quite a few of these. And they can, we have some where they do add something. But not all of them do. Case
I think we had one that we had quite an argument about down on Harding.
it could have been because of setbacks. I mean, I know we've had someone there, a corner lot, they require to be 20 foot back, and we've actually had some where they would apply for a variance, but we were just looking at, and it's not.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if I might, the reference in the code is for if a mobile home or other recreational vehicle features a carport, patio cover, awning, or other extension, setbacks and/or separation shall be measured from the extension.
Right.
So if there is, then the setbacks would go from that
Right.
point.
I know.
It's not requiring that you have one, but, and Gilbert would have to look at this again, they might not be able to even fit an awning.
I know. That's why I was questioning because
So that's probably why they don't have one, is if they had an awning, it might not meet the code.
well,
But it does not seem that it's required to have an awning.
okay. I won't argue anymore. But you better check, Phil. please?
I'll check that list twice.
We'll double check, Mr. Chair, make sure.
Yeah, because
No problem.
somewhere I got,
We have one that was, remember that one we just put in, looks really nice. It's on Seago, I believe, almost to the boulevard. And it's on, I think it's 4th Street. And there's some stick-built houses right around that area, but there's a manufactured home that we approved. And it has a little carport in front with the driveway in the side, but the driveway doesn't have a cover because they're not required to.
wait,
It's really
Yeah.
nice. I mean, it's a
but
really nice home.
there
but-
was something about,
Yeah.
it was required that you have concrete on the sides to keep it from caving in.
Right. Yeah, well, see,
Ground set,
yeah, ground set, it would have all, it would meet all the requirements there.
yeah, I know, but it's still, you're gonna,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah,
a
it's,
problem.
they can have concrete, they just don't have to show it on the site plan. It's the cover that actually becomes the issue with the setbacks, because it's the support, you measure the setback from the support of the cover. But you can have all the concrete you want. There's not a requirement that they limit it. A lot of people love concrete, so they put it all over the place, so they can have that, that's no problem. And it would be good for the sides because.
So
height is
maybe it's different if you put it on a lot than it is if you put it in a park.
Yeah, park has different requirements that
It's
they
a
can apply,
requirement that
yeah, and
you've
require
gotta
it to
have-
keep the aesthetics and all that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the setbacks are different too. Whereas, in a park, you don't have to have a 20-foot side on a corner, and all that. So the park setbacks are different than a single-family lot like that.
Okay,
Yeah, they're a lot
So
bigger.
Gilbert, there's no difference between this one and the one that we approved, I think it was 2 months ago. The only difference between this one and that one was that one that had a concrete, or not a concrete foundation, well, yeah, concrete block foundation that they were building.
yeah.
Yes, I think that's what you're talking about. But here, they can choose to whether, they can put it on blocks, or they can do anything with that. If they want to put a concrete pad there, they can put a
The
concrete pad.
the area that, because it's ground set, they can either use block or there's other approved methods by the Office of Manufactured Housing, the
Yeah.
state, and that's what followed. I was a mobile home inspector for the county back in the 80s, and they changed it from, they used to allow corrugated metal with tar, and then they started requiring green board. And then in Glendale, we required actually ground set to have block.
Yeah,
And because we were covering it with other costs, which is really good, but it adds a lot of money to the cost.
we've had some green board fall in down there at the park.
Yeah, and then we would require it to be strapped down, so it was almost like, as good as a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's 2x6, 2x4 construction and everything, so they're pretty sturdy. These new units are really good. But we'll double check on that, Ms. Chair, just to be.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. You want to speak? Okay,
Mr.
Come on
Chair,
up.
you might want to just state
Open
that
to
this
the
is a
public.
public hearing.
we just opened to the public.
Public hearing.
I just wanted to be sure whether he wanted to speak before I opened or not.
Yeah.
Hello, commissioners and councilmen. My name is Logan Shope, and I live at 349 West Taylor Avenue. My only questions were in regards to where they're planning on putting the front and back doors of the property, where those are going to be facing, and then just because of the proximity to my home, I just wanted to know if there would be enough space for them to easily get in and out of that space and not cause any conflict between the two properties.
Well, based upon the orientation of the product that they've provided us, I believe the patio door would be on the, see, it's got to be on
That'd be
the
the west
driver's side. Yeah, I'm thinking that's going to be the front closer here with the door. So I think that would be on the east side, and I think the patio door would be on the west side, I think.
Okay. And sorry, if you wouldn't mind going back to the other photo, is that going to put the door kind of facing into my backyard then? Is that going to be where the front door is facing?
Of the length and stuff, I think the front door would be like right here, and the patio door is going to be about right here, so somewhere in here, with the remainder of the structure back here.
Okay. Is there any plan, I guess, I don't know if you would have access to that information. Is there any plan to put any sort of fencing or like privacy guard between
Well,
the two
they're,
properties?
they're not technically in these situations required to put up like a 6-foot CMU wall, but we could ask the applicant with the builder, Clayton, to consider turning in a joint single-family, or in this case, manufactured home, and wall permit
Okay.
for that very thing and stuff, so.
Yeah, I obviously don't have any objections to it. Just with the, so is that, I think it says here that it's a 10-foot space on the east side, is that right? 10 and 12.
10 and 12.
Okay,
Yeah, the typical setbacks are 5 and 10, I believe here.
okay.
5 and 10.
Okay, I just wanted a better understanding because it looks like with the orientation facing, so yeah, I was just curious on that.
You said you're over here, right?
I'm on the east side.
Oh, you're on the east side. Okay, well, still, it's pretty close, 10 and 12. That's not too bad.
Okay. All right, that was my only question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, are you concerned that when they exit and enter their property, that they'll be coming in on your property to do that? So you're-
So currently there is some, a 3 to 4 foot chain link fence, I think, that's set between the two properties. And there's some damages that were already made to the fence before I moved in. We've been working to make repairs to those, but there is still some concern that with that narrow space, just if there were damages to that fence, or I just would be interested to know, I guess, the plan for, because moving in will require moving furniture and things of that nature. So I just wanted to make sure we're clear. But if it meets all the standards, it sounds like that's
I was
not a
going to say,
problem.
it sounds, I mean, not on this side, but obviously they've got the benefit of the wall here already, even though it's probably on the property line, as should be here. So if they were amenable to it, then they'd only have to, for their own visual thing, install it from here up to here and stuff. So that would be less expensive for them to consider that. But we can ask them to
Okay.
consider it.
And they'll have 10 feet minimum, right? Because of the way it's 10 on one side, 12 on the other.
10
so
on
there's-
one, yeah, 10 on one.
It's 10 and 12.
So there's more than 10 feet. There should be
Yes.
no way they'd go over to your,
Okay.
standards of fence or your property.
Oh, yeah, but as far
10
as
is
on the
quite a good
property
size.
goes, no, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think that was my only question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else to speak? Public session's closed. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, not only the number, but the resolution should be read into it too.
I'll motion to approve Cool PZ 24-03-14 and resolution Cool PZ 24-04.
Okay. Do I need to read that into it?
No.
Okay. Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Director Lopez.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just to give you some updates, I've got a couple here. We've been working a lot of permits and a lot of different things throughout the city, checking up on some projects we've approved, see where they are in the process, get them approved through ADOT. One important thing I just want you to be aware of is city been with either Rick Miller, myself, Phil have been meeting. We met this afternoon with group that created the solar overlay that we worked with for that, and we're looking at the battery energy storage systems to see what we can do. If we change where they are, maybe rename the current overlay to make it more inclusive of, say, other types of sustainable energy or green energy. So we're looking at that, and we're working with the group and doing research and everything. So We had a really good agenda in the meeting and had an agenda with about 6 or 7 items, and left the meeting. We're going to meet again in a couple weeks, so we're moving forward with that and doing some research on where those go in other areas. And so we could come back with a recommendation to yourselves and the mayor and council on those if we need to do that. So just wanted you to be aware of that. That effort's ongoing, and we appreciate the group meeting with us and come up with something that'll work well. And the other thing I had is SRP also is in the process of, they sent a letter to the community of Randolph and everybody in the surrounding area where they were starting to work on the other power plant additions they're doing and the construction. So they're, they've finished some of the roads like Randolph Road and did all those roads they promised to do. If you've driven out there, they've done a lot of the roadways within Randolph community and put in a lot of improvements, sidewalks and everything. The county's worked with them to put in hydrants and all those type of things. So they're getting ready to planning to start the construction on those other ones because it'll help with all the, prevent rolling blackouts and brownouts and those type of things when the summer hits, when we need more power. So they've been approved for additional power units, natural gas-fired units through the Arizona Corporation Commission. So just in case you see that in construction, and it's going to go behind them. So it's going to go to the east of the ones that are there. So they'll be further away than originally proposed. And so that's good. And then what else? Oh, one thing was really cool. They, if you notice on Taylor, right by Dollar General, there's a duplex going there. It's under construction. It used to be
Is that what's going in there now?
Yeah, it used to be a really dilapidated house there. Tore it down, and then so they tried to patch it up and put some stucco, and there was no foundation under it. So after we talked to them and everything, they decided to replace it, which is the right move. And then remember, we came back quite a while back and rezoned that to allow that duplex to go in and meet the setback. So we did R3, I believe, and that worked out really good. So we're going to see a brand new, real nice building there, residential.
Yeah, as soon as they get the roof on it.
Yeah, once you get the roof on it and everything. So it
Got
looks,
the walls on it.
yes. Yeah, it went up fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had all the plans approved and everything, reviewed it. Suddenly we drove by going out to Nicola. We were going out there to look at approving some plans and things out there, and I saw it. And I was like, look, pretty happy to see that. Yeah, so we're getting quite a bit of activity, throughout the city, and we will see more in the future, I think, as things come on board. Wendy's is moving forward really well. We haven't heard yet from, the other things right in front of Safeway. I don't want to jinx myself and mention Burger King and the Marriott, but we're looking forward to that. And there's more activity down south along Selma Highway and 87 through Jacobs Group, Inland Port, and St. Holdings. And a lot of companies are looking at that Inland Port. And we're responding to those companies with information. So hopefully we'll have some more, big news to announce, and we're really chomping at the bit to bring that to you. So that's all I have at this point, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, how's your business doing?
We're doing okay.
Good. Keeping them farmers happy, huh?
Yes, we can.
It's like a nightmare, isn't it?
Hey, Gilbert, I got a question for you. With the work that's going on with SRP on Randolph, who owns those permits?
Who owns the?
Who applied for those permits?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to start. I hate to do this. I know there's no one here, but it'd be great if you asked that question to Gilbert after the meeting. It's just not agendized to talk about these types of issues.
Yeah, we can't.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it hasn't been agendized yet. It'd be an open meeting, all things. I'll let you know. Or I can give you the information next time. And, yeah.
Okay.
No, we can talk. Yeah.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Great.